What's up, gang? This is Roots in the City podcast with your host, Thomas Faliliu, where real stories, real struggles, and real growth happens. I have a special guest, man, Nofo Iosua. What's up, Wolf?
Yo, what's up? What's up, Uso?
And like I mentioned earlier when we talked, I mean, one of the biggest things for me is your story.
From, the respect, the discipline, and I carry myself. All that is what shaped me in her house, and even through, even through those trials and tribulations that I faced, I still had uncles and older uncles and my mom's brothers and my mom's cousins that I looked up to that were father figures in my life, and I still know the strongest foundation I had came from the women who raised me. And so, and because of them, I didn't grow up lost. I grew up, grounded. And so I think that's where most of my Samoan culture came from, is
Heck
that
yeah.
house and being disciplined, just respect the family. And it's all rooted in being Samoan. And, there's a lot that goes into it. You don't just represent yourself, you represent the whole bloodline. But even with that, there were times I didn't even feel Samoan enough, right? Especially in the States. But
Right.
you look at me, I probably don't look like a typical Samoan, right? I may look different. I mean, I was always a lot darker than everybody else, not as big, right?
Right.
So I always got that look like, man, you ain't Samoan or whatever.
Right.
But it didn't always. I always felt like I didn't always fit in. And when I hung around family or other Samoans, so as a kid, you start to ask yourself, like, man, where do I even belong? Because
Right.
my whole life I grew up in a Samoan household, and that was just my type of living growing up. And so, yeah, I was just grateful for my cousins and my uncles that I was around growing up. I've seen it, the fighting, the gang banging,
Right.
being exposed to life early. And because there was a point in my life where, my mom's house, my house was the party house, man. That my house was the one that everybody came
Everyone
to
get to,
and
yeah.
come and drink and smoke. And because I was so young at the time, I just remember being locked up in the room
Bro.
in a
Yeah.
corner, and just hear everybody screaming foul, playing music and stuff. And I'm just like, man, this sucks, man.
Solid, man.
Because I've been stuck.
I was just gonna ask you too, because I'm not familiar with West Covina, or even the IE.
Yeah,
So, like, was there a lot of Samoans living in that area at the time? And
yeah,
so that's who, I want to hone in on that
yeah,
because majority of our grandmas are pretty much the chief of our family, right? Like
yeah. The
they're the
matriarch,
talking
right?
chief of our family. So
Yeah.
everyone respects the grandma in the family, and so I want to deep dive into that. Like you mentioned, that's literally who raised you, and so tell us a little bit about the discipline that you learned from her. Like how's the Fasa way when she taught you like how to become a man, a man in this world. How was that?
She taught me and my family, my parents, all of us, she teaches us about respect, right?
Right.
Respecting your elders, just mainly service, right? Service to other people, whether in whatever you do. That's the discipline that she taught us, and I grew up around that, right?
Right.
That discipline, responsibility of understanding that your elders, no matter what the circumstances are, that you're going to respect them regardless, right? I think that's something that she really taught us. And it's better to give than receive, right?
Right.
My grandma, she's like, if you know her, she will give anything to you. And sometimes she even sacrifices so much, she doesn't have anything for herself.
Right.
So she's always calling us, and because that's just how she is, in the islands.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk
Uh-huh.
about that. Because like I see it in a lot of our Samoan culture, right? We give so much, even though we don't have it. But like we don't have that. Like we
Right.
don't have much, but we give so much. And so now tell me what the pros and cons on that, because like culturally, I one of the questions is, was she LDS? Like, did she?
She wasn't always a member of her church, but then she did get baptized into, so she was a convert.
So she
Yeah.
still took her roots from
Right.
growing up and using the Fasa more stuff in her way of living. So now, you mentioned earlier about, she gave so much, she'll come to you guys, right?
Yeah, I think it's just more of that mentality you have growing up in the islands, right?
Right.
I mean, let's be honest, probably in the islands, you can give up everything, and you can live off the land. right? So you don't
Right.
really need much, to survive in that type of environment growing up. And so I
Right.
think that's always been instilled in her. And so when she came out to the States, she still lived that. Instead of, giving everything she had, like money is a tool, right? Money isn't
Sure.
everything. But when you give her when you give up all that money and you don't have any money for yourself,
Right.
now you're stuck.
Now you're
And I
stuck.
don't know if
Yeah.
you can necessarily I don't know if you can survive the way you can in
Right.
Samoa when you don't have anything, right? We
Sure.
can't just go to our plantation here and, find food if we don't have food here.
Right.
We have to go to the store and actually purchase that, right? We have to
Right.
use money and actually get those things. Or you can go the other route, go to the church, right? You can go to the bishop and
Right.
do what you gotta do. But I me personally, I think that's just who she is, man, and
Right.
who she's always been. Just over the years, 30 plus years of seeing her, there's not one time that she has never not want to give something up, no
Right.
matter what. And when she receives something, she's a pirate. Like she'll
Right.
keep that thing like until today. Like there's a whole bunch of stuff in her house. I'm just like, man, she's a hoarder, man. She don't want to give it, but everything she keeps is special to her
It
because
means something. Yep.
yeah,
It means
she
something.
was gifted it, but she doesn't want to let it go. No matter
Right.
if she's never ever gonna use it, the fact that she received it as a gift, she's gonna hold on to that. But if somebody comes over and doesn't have anything, she'll give it. You know?
Sully, man, that
So
right there just reminds me of my grandparents too. Like they
yeah,
were hoarders, and
yeah,
if you go to the house, man, you got extra chairs and extra couches and stuff like that. That was given to them by members of the church or even like neighbors and stuff like that. And we never used it, but my grandma would say, "One of these days we'll use it." You know what I mean? Like, and so, man, that actually falls into what I really want to talk about, right? And so, you talked about the Samoan culture. We're going to
yeah.
talk about Irving.
Right? Like he went on his mission to Fiji and he came back just walking barefooted everywhere at church, man.
Wow.
I'm like, and I remember as a young person, just like, dang, that mission must really change you. So
Yeah.
yeah, over the years, I was always excited, and so it was exciting for me to, eventually be my turn to go on a mission. And then, that motivated me even more. And then I remember even thinking that, and that's gonna be me going one day, right?
Right.
And no matter what life throws at me, I already made that decision early on that I'm
Right.
gonna put in, I'm gonna put in my papers and I'm gonna put my life on pause and I'm gonna go serve the Lord, no
Right.
matter what I'm going through at the time. So
Oh, this
um
is lovely, man, because your daughter's here, and I love that. That's going to be a part of the episode, so just so you know. But anyways, man, like when you got that mission call, like how did you feel like inside? Because like going to Samoa is something special. You got your family, you got your grandma, and did you speak the language before you went on the mission, or how was that?
Man, so I'm gonna be honest with you, man. Like I couldn't hold a conversation at all in Samoan. But us here in the U.S., man, we
Right.
we know all the fails and do all the
Right.
stuff around the house or go take a shower. The little stuff like go get me something, go get me a drink. We understand those things. But before I went on my mission, it was almost I couldn't hold a conversation. I
Right.
mean, I
Right.
remember even doing the sacrament, man, and saying it in Samoan, not even
Saying
knowing.
that.
And hearing it in English was like my very first time. It was like new to
Right.
me. I was, that's what it means. Like, and it didn't take me until the MTC to actually start hearing it
Right.
because I've always went to a Samoan war,
Right.
and so when I got my mission call, it was everything just changed. It was shocking. Well, it was crazy though because like I went to my auntie's house and invited all our family came over and then
Right.
my cousin she just got her mission call and she ended up going to South Dakota and so she was going to be reporting around the same time and so when I was reading my call obviously everybody has their guess their guess of where we're going to go serve
Right.
or where we're going to get our calling to and I remember my grandma just whispering right next to me, oh, he's gonna go Samoa. He's gonna go Samoa.
Right.
But
Right.
it it's been decades, man, in our ward. It's been a long time since anybody's been get. I mean, I would say probably like 20 years. My uncle Fui, man, I think he was the last person in our ward that got called to go to Samoa. So Samoa wasn't even in my mind. No, I was already looking at states,
Right.
man.
Right. Right.
I already had New York on lock. I was like, oh yeah, if I were to
You're
go
going
to any
stateside.
state, I'm trying to go to New York, man, because New York
Yeah.
is the biggest city in the nation. So yeah, when I got that calling, man, it was like, man, it was shocking. Like until the I mean, still, like, I'm still shocked that I even had the opportunity to even go.
Right.
When I got called and I was reading my letter and it said Apia Samoan mission, I was like, man, what? And man,
Wow.
we all just jumped, enjoyed. But then the kicker was that I ended up reporting with my cousin and the MTC at the same time.
Same time, yeah.
Yeah, so
So you
that
had
was
you
also
had
exciting.
support.
So
You had somebody
yeah,
there.
exactly. So I got a twofer, man. It was good. It was
Nice.
nice. So we all got to go together and we all celebrated.
Right.
Yeah, man. I just remember sitting there like, man, even after everything was done, I'm just sitting there like looking and staring at the call like, there's no way, man. Like, out of all people, why would it be me? You know,
Right.
like how the heck? So he actually got his mission call switched. He was gonna go to Texas, and I don't know what he did, but apparently, like he got another letter saying that they're gonna switch his call. And I'm like, dude, how are you sitting bored, man? Like, but he
I
was
know.
born in the States too,
All
so
right.
he'd never been to Samoa, but he was fluent. Like, same thing, his grandma.
Yeah. There
Yeah,
was
yeah,
Palangis, there was only one Tongan girl who was the teacher. There were twins, as a matter of fact, and they were Tongan full fluent, and they were pretty cool, the Nacios. So, but when you got to Samoa and you seen the environment and you seen, like, the markets, and coming from the airplane, in
yeah.
Upolu, like
Ira, ira,
landing
keep it down.
there, like how was that when you stepped foot on the grounds your grandmother stand on? You know what I mean? Ladus, did you feel like man, I'm in Samoa.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
No,
how
man, that's exactly. So I remember landing and I was sitting by the window and I remember like looking out the window and it was nighttime, but you couldn't see anything. And apparently out in Samoa, it's like one plane at a time. Everybody, I'm pretty sure everybody was like half asleep, and then they were like, "Oh, the plane's here, the plane's here." So when we got off, you can tell that everybody was waiting for our plane because
wow.
we were like the moment right when we pull up. But I remember once they opened that hatch to the airplane, man, we just got hit with that heat, and I was like, "Oh
Oh
yeah, this ain't
yes.
it, man." And me, I don't do really well in the heat, and I hate it. But it wasn't even that it was hot; it was the
Right.
humidity, right?
It's
Like
the
it was
humidity, yeah.
just
It's like
it's
the
just that.
sauna.
Yeah, no, it's just like an oven just opened
Yeah.
up, and we just walked into an oven. I was like, yeah, this is gonna be a crazy 2 years. But I remember when we got off the plane, everybody, all the attention, everybody, if you were working at the airport,
Right.
all your attention was all on us.
Wow.
You got a band singing for us, singing Samoan jams while we're walking in, and I'm
Totally.
just like, dude, I'm just amazed, like, and it's crazy because it's nighttime, so you really can't see anything,
Right, right, right.
but all you see is what's in the airport, right? But you
Sure.
can't see outside the airport. And
Right.
so we're just using our imagination what everything's going to look like
What's it
based
gonna look
off
like?
of, pictures we've seen or movies we've seen. So I just remember that after we got picked up our APs, we were just driving on a long road. We couldn't see anything. So, and they're speaking Samoan, Balangi and a Samoan cat, they're speaking Samoan to all of us. And, all of us from the state, just
Right.
like, yeah, yeah. Yeah, but I mean, that was my experience when we landed. It was crazy, man. I think, let me see. I think there was a total of 9 of us, right? Yeah, this is a crazy story. So when we got to where it is, I think Pesenga, right?
And was it the mission home?
Yeah, we went to the mission
Okay.
home in Pesenga, right? I think we slept there overnight, and then they told us where we were gonna
Where
go the
yeah.
next day once we sleep. So we woke up, everybody got their assignments, and four missionaries went to stood in Upo. Then four missionaries went to Kukuila, and then that one person went to Savai. That was me.
The jungle.
I went straight to Savai, and what's crazy is that they expected me to know what the heck I was doing,
Wow.
and
Yeah,
they
but as
they
soon
literally
as
just dropped me off at the waffle, bro. They dropped me off at the waffle. They're like, yeah, so that's the ticket booth right there. Just go get your ticket, and then you're gonna go on that boat, and then there should be some missionaries waiting for you in Savai when you get there. And
hey,
dude, I remember walking, just walking, and I got my ticket, and I get on the boat, and they're just looking at me. Everybody's just staring at me, and they notice I'm a missionary, one, and then two, I don't have my companion with me, and
right.
then three, everybody's staring at me to see, like, who the heck is this
Who are
guy?
you?
What is he? Is he a Fiki, Kongo, or Samoa? And so luckily, man, I know for a fact, man, Heavenly Father was looking out for me because he set some random guy, man. His name is Semi. I still remember his name, and it was Semi. He came to me and was speaking Samoan to me. He was like, "Say, "Malo rama, but you got right, a fellow saw," and I was just looking at him like. I was like, yeah, yeah,
You're like,
yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah. He's like, yeah, okay, pole, yeah, yeah. Then I'm for yeah. So he sat next to me, and I was like, oh yeah, I mean, he's gonna, probably just sit. And he was just telling me in Samoan that he's gonna sit with me because he noticed that,
Right,
I
right,
don't
right.
have a
Yep,
companion.
yep.
So yeah, he sat with me the whole time. He was telling me, he's like, you see over there, but this was all in Samoan, so I didn't really say much, man. And
Right.
I think he was thinking that I knew exactly what he was
And
saying, but
exactly what you were
I knew
saying, yeah.
little parts of what he was saying, man.
Right.
Like, and so we finally get there, and then he escorts me off and we ended up finding my the zone leader, and they came and got me. But those fools bring the whole zone, man, and
Do.
so
They
yeah, they
do.
bring the whole zone, and
Man,
so
I
like
got a
me,
similar story to that because when I left my mission, the MTC, and all of them had to stay in Nuku'alofa, and President Molini at the time was like, "Hey, you're gonna go to AWA, which is like a boat
uh,
ride," and everybody's like, even the missionaries that were at the mission home, they were like, "Oh man, I want to go to AWA, like because they
yeah,
they they stayed in the main island." So
uh,
I was the only one out of my group that went to an island. So when I got there, I was nervous. I did the same thing as you when people were talking to me. The good thing about it was
yeah.
there was a sister that just got back from the States, finished her mission. So when
Oh
she saw
man,
me, she started talking to me in Tongan, and I was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, and
yeah,
then she
yeah.
was like, oh, you're English. You're from the States. And I was like, oh yeah. And she was like, I'm gonna sit with you because I don't
Dude,
have a
that's
companion too.
crazy.
And so we were
That's
sitting there just
crazy.
chatting back and forth. And she was from a little small village in Awa. And so we got chatting and I felt good. But Sunday, when I got to the wharf, all of the missionaries came out. They were waiting for me right there at the wharf. And I was like, man, I don't even know. And they're all natives. There was no
Nice.
Palangis that was, and so they probably expecting me to like learn how to speak or know how to speak the Tongan
Yeah,
language. So when I got there and there's like, what's your name? And I was like, Faliliu. And they knew right away,
right off the
oh,
bat,
that's a
like, oh, that's not a Tongan. That's
that. So
yeah,
they were like, oh, I was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. It was good. And I'm pretty sure when you went to Savali, your
yeah.
language went up,
Oh,
like your
I caught on
understanding.
quick.
He was the one that was
Man,
like,
you
hey,
have a
look,
similar story, man.
like he was like, hey, look, I'm not gonna speak to you in English.
They didn't speak any English. Yeah, so they were speaking Tongan the whole
Right.
time, or they were speaking Samoan. So for 2 months straight, man, everything was all in Samoan. Obviously everybody in Savali don't speak English. And then
Yeah.
it wasn't until I met the other missionaries in our zone I was able to
Right.
speak English. But for the whole 2 months, man, I was stuck in a trio with these two and just tagging LHS everywhere, LHS everywhere. They keep tagging everywhere.
High
We found
school.
out it was Leona High School, and I was like, oh, I guess that's the church school. But
So you
anyway,
know what's crazy, man? Like
yeah,
they're
yeah.
very like rivals,
Oh,
right? So
sure.
like the Mormon and the LDS religion in Tonga, like
Yeah.
it's rivalry against
It's like
the.
a gang, man.
It's like a
It's like a
gang, bro.
gang.
Like
Like
it's not
whatever
even
high school you
funny.
go to, that's what you bleed. And
It's it-
so
it's it's
it's
crazy
crazy.
because
Yeah,
there
no,
might be some members that went to that school and they
yeah.
rock hard for that
Just
school.
knowing the color, whatever you wear,
Oh
already
yeah,
says everything about
yeah.
you. Trust me. So those 2 months, I caught these dudes speaking English, man, both of them, and I told them, hey, why you guys do speak English? And they both looked at each other and they started laughing. They're like, well, how else are you supposed to learn the language, fool? And I was like, oh, heck no, man. So they played me for about and and then I finally got to talk to them. What was all this
Right, right.
LHS? And that's when they told me about
That's
Intonga.
awesome,
That's
man.
what you bleed, man. Whatever color you are, whatever school color, that's what you bleed, man.
Hey,
He's like,
that is awesome.
there's so many fights and
Yeah,
everything. So,
that's
everything
true.
was green, all
Yeah.
Leona, these guys. And, I'm married to my wife. She also went to Leona and our classmate with these two.
Oh, wow,
Yeah.
that's
So
awesome.
it's a coincidence that we had a
Yeah.
similar story.
And so, man, like, let's talk about that. I mean, whether it's learning the language or whether it's connecting, like, was it hard to convert someone there in Samoa?
It was a struggle. It was a struggle in learning, not too much learning the language, but I think adjusting to for me, it was adjusting to the weather, man.
To the
I
weather.
I, I struggled, man. Like the first month, I remember like, well, first I'm in Hawaii and we don't have any showers there, so we did the whole shower with the kalonge, man, and
Right.
freaking water. Everything's cold, no hot water, and I remember taking showers at night before I go to bed, and then just in a couple hours, I'm already drenched in sweat again.
Right.
So, I mean, for me, that was my struggle early on. But as far as like the converting people, for me, I felt like it was a little bit easier because out in Samoa, people are really religious there. Whether everybody on Sunday, everybody's going to church unless you're, Seventh Day,
Right.
you're gonna go on Saturday. But for the most part, everybody believed in God. So it was more of just like opportunity, right, to be able to share that message. I think the biggest struggle for me as the mission went on was seeing those part member families, right? Seeing the want of the kids, the children wanting to get baptized, but
Right.
because the dad, the house, the man of the house, he just didn't agree. And after doing many lessons, seeing the kids get excited, and their friends are all Mormon and are all members, and the sadness that I would see from the kids, like there's nothing we could do, right? Struggle early on, but it's crazy. I had my own battles as well,
Right.
because like I said, like I mentioned earlier, I already struggled with my identity,
Wow.
early on before my mission.
Right.
And so what was pretty crazy for me was when I got to Samoa, it it hit different, right? Here we have people that are Samoan, that look Samoan, right?
Uh,
That speak Samoan,
right.
but because they weren't born in Samoa, they were called plastics.
Plastic. Yeah. The
Yeah,
big word
no,
getting out.
they were plastic.
Yeah.
So I'm over here just like, hold on. I'm over here worried about me not fitting in, and here you have a Samoan that literally blends in with everybody, but yet they're still not even Samoan. So that was a different. I just had a different perspective about that because I was just like, man, my whole life, I am fighting for my identity and
Right.
wanting to be Samoan, and I'm not Samoan enough.
Enough.
And yet
Yeah.
you have people that are Samoan, full
Right.
blood Samoan, and they come over here and then they're not even Samoan enough. It's
Right.
just like, man, that hit different for me. It was like, dang, that's crazy. And then obviously we had our battles with the natives out there, and all of us from the States, we had our personal thoughts, but we all stuck together and we're like,
Right.
man, who are you guys to tell us if we're not Samoan?
Yeah. I
Like,
mean
did you guys create
that hits
Samoa?
hard.
So
That hits hard solely because even in Tonga it was the same way. You had Tongans from here, Salt Lake. There was a lot of Tongans from Salt Lake that served in Tonga, and they can all share that same experience because some of them grew up speaking the language perfectly clear.
right,
And then they go to Doha, and then you get the natives saying, "Nah, you ain't part of us. You're plastic." Plastiki is what they call
yeah,
it. And so and it was sad to see because it was like,
yeah,
man, he speaks the language. He
yeah,
looks like you guys. You know what I mean? Like he wasn't born here, and I think that's the struggle, right? That's
yeah,
I want to tap into that because you know there's a lot of things that have been going around and Samoans looking down at other Samoans because they weren't raised, like
yeah,
in a certain area or they weren't raised in Samoa on the rock, right? But
right.
then I look at man, it took me a long time to get over that because the way I look at it is, man, but you weren't raised here. Like, and then you go to Samoa and they're like, no, you're not. Like,
Yeah, no, that was an eye opener for me, man. 'Cause like I said, I'm pretty sure I can speak for all of us that were born here in the States, right? Every time there's a Samoan that comes from Samoa, it's like it's the same thing for them. They don't speak English,
yeah,
and here we are laughing at them. And
right.
I guess it's the same thing because we're like, oh, he a fob, right?
Yeah, you're
And
fine.
then we try telling
Yeah,
those people, the natives, oh, you guys are fobs, and they were like, what's a fob? And then we had to explain to them, well, when you guys come to the States, you guys come on boats
right.
and you guys are fresh off the boat. That's
First,
what we call you guys for. And and so it's kind of the same thing no matter what. Something that I realized is that no matter what, you're always gonna fall short in someone else's eyes, right?
right.
And that changed me because I stopped trying to prove my identity to people and I started owning it to myself. And
Yeah.
it didn't matter if I was half or full. It didn't matter how I looked. I knew where I came from,
You
and
knew where you
nobody could
came
take
from.
that from me. Yeah. And I went out. there trying to find people, and I found myself. And so being in Samoa wasn't just a mission, it was like it was identity for me. And it
Right.
wasn't just visiting, I was understanding where I came from on a like a on a deeper level. And so serving a mission in Samoa, being born in this in the US, it's honestly like something you can't fully understand until you live it. And so at first you go out there thinking that you're going to go back to your roots, like you're finally going to feel 100% connected. But then when you get there, it humbles you real quick,
Oh
man.
yeah.
It humbles you real quick because then you realize you're Samoan, but you're also not Samoan in the way that they are. The culture is just deeper, right? The language is deeper,
Right.
and the way they live is nowhere compared how
It's
we
nowhere.
live here.
Yep.
The way, and the way they love, the way they serve people out there, it's just
Right.
it's a different level, man. That, but it's just something that you just claim it's something that you live every day. Right? That's how the Samoans live in Samoa. So, for me, it was eye opening growing up in the U.S. and I had a lot of pride being Samoan, but
Yeah.
in Samoa, I had to earn to understand I had to earn my understanding of it,
Right.
and so yeah, man, that was just my deeper connection with
Right.
being in Samoa.
Now, Samoa, no matter what. We're Samoa through and through. I think that was one of the things that I had a conversation with my dad.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to Samoa in June, and my little brother's gonna go get the
Oh yeah.
belt.
Yeah.
And
Bell.
so when I said I'm gonna go and support my little so getting the title and stuff like that. So, my dad, I asked him, I said, how's that? You know what I mean? Like being from America, like, do they look down at that? You know what I mean? Like he says, it's an honor. Like when anybody from America go out there, a lot of the people that truly understands the culture, they look at that and are grateful because they're saying, man, we have someone from America that are stepping in to hold, and support the family. Like, and I didn't see it like that before growing up because I always thought, oh, $500 is jokes and this and that. But seeing, my dad explain that and that perspective and that mindset, it just changed my whole perspective of that. And so I'm excited to see my little so do it. And so, but man, let's get to it. Let's talk about your military background, right? And so I know you said you served in the Marines. How difficult was that? And before that, like what led to that? Like what led to that decision to join the military after your mission?
I'm gonna be honest. Like, so the military, the military wasn't part of my plans at all. Let's just be straightforward. Like straight
Right.
out of high school, that wasn't part of my plans. But when I returned back from my mission, I found out that my mom had cancer, and so I had about like about 4 months with my mom before she passed. And sorry, man, that shook me, bro. That shook me really good. I think that's everything that I fight for. It was, I know, the whole time I was on my mission, the 2 years, I had nothing nothing to worry about
Right.
100%. So the whole time I was on my mission, I don't think my parents, well, my mom didn't mention too much about her cancer. And
Right.
so when I got home, it was like I could tell that she had a sling on, and I was like, what is this? She told me that her cancer, she had stage 4 cancer. They decided not to tell me while I was on my mission because obviously they didn't want to. I was forever grateful for that moment because Heavenly Father, He gave my mom the strength to at least hold on until I got back,
Till you got back home. Yeah.
and I was forever grateful for those 4 months. So yeah, it was, losing my mom to cancer was not part of my plans at all. It changed everything, all my plans, everything, and as time went on, I noticed my mom was starting to decline, and I knew I knew right away that, that whole time she was waiting for me to get back from my mission. And so I was forever grateful. It was a blessing to have those 4 months to
Right.
spend some time. There are some times I wish I had more time and more conversations, more understanding. But after all that, man, I'm forever grateful because now I see her differently. Right? She did the best she could with what she had. One of the biggest blessings that I still have, and I think I didn't really lose myself too much, was my testimony of the
Yep.
gospel, the
Yep.
plan of salvation. and understanding that, someday we will see each other again. And another blessing that I have on this earth is my grandma. She's still living. I think she's about to be 85 now. She's actually out here, and I honestly think that most of my success, if not all my success, is because of my grandma. She's constantly praying for me, and I think we both. My mom was like her right hand. She was like her right hand. When she lost her, I thought I was gonna lose my grandma not too long after. But
Right, because of
I
the
think
grief process, yeah.
I think me and
Yeah,
my grandma are kind of like leaning on each other to get through this together.
right,
And so, yeah, man, I don't take any time. I don't take any of that for granted.
right.
And pain, pain wasn't going to break me, man. And I think, going back to that question, I just think that I needed a lot of structure. I wanted to play ball and I had to start
Oh,
working, paying bills. So I sacrificed a lot of my young adult time just working.
right.
And so I needed something to push me. And I wanted to challenge myself and wanted to and listen to the hardest branch that was there and that was there to
Oh,
offer.
dang,
And so
man.
so
Marines
I
is the
chose
hardest
I chose
branch,
the
huh?
Marines, man. I chose the Marines, and what's crazy is that the Marines, man, they don't care about you, man. They don't care about what you went through. All they care about is who you are right now.
Right,
And boot camp, man, it's mind blowing how everything worked out because my
right.
recruiter was Samoan from American Samoa, but he
Dale.
was not. Man, it was
Wow.
crazy. Like the way I got in was nuts, and I wanted to be infantry. I
Want to
wouldn't.
be
I
frontline.
want to be crazy, right? Go
Yeah.
out there. That
Yep.
dude straight told me, he's like, if you're trying to go infantry, go find another recruiter. I'm not gonna do that to you. That's like Uso to Uso. He's like, you don't want to live that life, man. Trust me. We're in a time of peace right now. It's not even worth it. You're just gonna be
Yeah.
doing a whole bunch of training and you're gonna
Right.
get hazed and you're gonna hate your life. And I'm not gonna
Right.
do that to you. He's like, all my friends, they all hate me because I didn't do infantry with them. And
Right.
they all hate their lives. My whole story of how I even got to boot camp was even crazier is because I went back to talk to him, just see what my options, because like I
Sure.
said,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was going through it, man. I had a lot of pain. There's
Yeah.
a lot of pain, man. And so yeah, I went to go talk to him one day, and he was trying to tell me like what's a good job. And he's like, I told him, bro, I want to go frontline, but then I want to do something. I want to get deployed, man. I want to
Yeah.
get out there, man. So
Yeah.
he was like, oh, okay, so you should probably go be motor T, which you drive all the big vehicles. And so
Right.
they sent me to a place called MEPS where all the branches have to go and get like medical exam.
Okay.
And so I went there and I sat there. It's a long process, man. I sat there and some big old staff sergeant came and walked by me. He was like, "What you here for?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm just here for an eye exam. We're gonna send you to boot camp today." I was like, no, yeah, I thought he was joking. He was like, "Why you laughing?" He's like, "No, I'm for real." And I'm like, "Wait, hold up, man. I'm over here in some sandals and some shorts and a big old white tee, and you're over here telling me that I'm gonna go to boot camp." I was like, "Yeah, yeah, right." He's like, "Are you scared?" He's like, "Isn't that what you're here for?" He's like, "Why not?" He's like, "Well, one, I'm overweight." And he's like, "Is that all you're worried about?" And then he was like, "All right." So he left. Man, I'm still there doing my thing. 2 hours went by. He comes back and throws a paper at me. He's like, "You're going to boot camp and you're leaving tonight." And so I remember making a phone call. I think I called my grandma and I called my girlfriend, which is my wife at the time. Don't do it. Don't go. I was like, nah, you know what? I'm gonna go.
I'm gonna go.
And so yeah, I ended up going. I left, made my phone call. I went to boot camp, and right there in boot camp, man, they strip you down just to rebuild
Hey.
you, man, and it tests you everything, like mentally, physically, emotionally, and your ego, man. Your
Out the
ego
door.
is just out the door, man. And but honestly, that's what I needed because I had pain in me, like I mentioned, and
A lot of
I
grief.
had to
Yep.
turn that into discipline. And there was
Yeah.
moments I wanted to quit, but I had already been through enough in my life, and quitting just doesn't fix anything. And I think going through that identity struggle, it forced me to build some confidence, and in the hard way. And
No,
so,
I think I love that, man. I love that story
yeah,
for you, man. And that's why I brought you on. One of the biggest things is that everybody got a story, and I'm grateful that you share, and you were vulnerable to share that, man, because everybody has grief, right? And so your
yeah,
grief is losing your mom coming out of your mission, and then try to, take that grief and try to like find something or something to get into, to to overshadow what you were going through, and the Marines is one of them. And so like you chose the worst thing for you. You was like, but at the same time, I mean, I felt like everybody that chooses things in life and they go through their journey, there's always an answer of that, man. So talk a little bit about like what you learned on the Marines and how that transitioned to law enforcement.
Yeah, man. Dude, I've learned a lot in the Marines, man. I think one of the biggest struggles I had was, letting people that are younger than me like tell me what to do.
Wow.
Because
Yeah.
coming from a Samoan like household, man, it's like you respect your elders no matter
Right.
you disagree or you agree with them, right? Well, I
Right.
came in late, right? And
Yeah.
that's what they would yell at me because they would know I joined around like 25. And so the average person, they usually come right out of high school or 17, 18 years old.
Putting in
And
the
just
time. Yep.
yeah, they
Yeah.
put in the time and yet they had the opportunity to try to break me,
Right.
and me, sitting there standing at attention, getting yelled at by like a 21-year-old, screaming in my face and said, "How does it feel to get yelled at to somebody that's younger than you?" He's like, "Well, that's what happens when you want to be a fat, disgusting civilian and come late." He's like, "You better get used to it because this is gonna be your whole career."
They'll go
Man,
deep. They probably read your
yeah.
whole background.
Oh yeah, they know, man. And at one point, I just like, man, I don't know how much longer I could take this. And
Right.
I
Right.
even
Right.
asked if I could talk to like one of the higher ranked command staffs,
Right.
and I talked to him. I said, "Hey, man, like, what happens if I don't want to do this anymore? Like,
Right.
if I
Right.
don't want to do this," he was like, "Man, let me tell you." He was like, "The best way to get out of here is to graduate. Because if you don't graduate, it ain't like, oh, I quit, you go home, we
Right.
buy you a ticket. Like you signed that dotted line,
Right.
we can hold you as long as we want,
As we
and
want. Yeah.
we'll send you back home when we feel like you deserve it."
Wow.
And so he's like, unless you want to be like cutting grass and cleaning toilets for the next, who knows, 6 months, I would recommend that you just get back in line and you graduate. And so that's what I did, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went back in line, and that was probably one of the best things that ever happened to me because, there was a lot that I was in there for, right? And I had to start remembering why I even did
Why?
this, right? And
Yeah.
I couldn't quit, man. I just couldn't. Even though if I was exhausted mentally and physically, there was moments that I remember I just had to remember what I was doing this for, my
Yeah.
family, right? My
Your
future
family. Yeah.
family and my generation that come after that. And, me being the first, I would say out of my generation, I was like probably the first. Yeah, we had other cousins that were in other states that we really didn't grow up with, or
Right.
we had uncles that were a couple generations above
Right.
me
Right.
that served.
That
But there
served.
wasn't really
But
anyone
it
in
was
our
your
generation
generation.
that
Yep.
actually, yeah, that served.
Yeah.
So, when I was going through that, I was thinking about not only my family, my
Right.
parents, or my grandma, my mom. I was thinking about all my usos that I grew up with, my
Right. Right.
cousins, right? I wasn't just doing it for me; I was doing it for all of us. Like,
Sadly.
I wanted to finish to make sure that it'd be like,
Right.
hey, man, I know y'all not doing it, but I'm gonna do it for us. Like,
Right.
this is something for all of us. And I had that, I had a lot of weight on that, and so that got me through a lot. And it's not like the army. I don't know how the army usually does things, but usually
Right.
from what I hear is like once you sign that dotted line when you're at the recruiting office, they shake your hand and be like, "Welcome aboard, soldier." That doesn't necessarily work. It's
Right.
about like I think it's like almost 3 months, man. And
Sadly.
you're a nasty civilian the whole time. And
Oh.
then you have this one big event that you have to earn the title of
Right.
being called a Marine, United States Marine. And
Sadly.
so we had a ceremony, and when they handed that Eagle Globe and Anchor to me to like finally say that, hey, you
Yeah.
earned that title of the United States Marine, that meant more than anything, man.
Right.
And I remember standing up on that hill like, dude, this is crazy because of everything I had to go through and all that pain that I was suffering. I
Get
finally
to that point.
accomplished something that I think will hopefully stand for other generations to look at. And hopefully I inspired my other young cousins or other people that I grew up around, whether it be my friends or their friends. I just hope that I inspired them to let them know that, like, hey, man, if I can do it, anybody can do it.
Well, you
And
know what,
so,
man? That people
yeah,
are going to be watching this, and they're going to be inspired because, and you should be proud of yourself. Also, like you should be proud, like to have that is an honor, man. Like that's why
yeah,
I do this because there's stories that are untold, right? There's
yeah,
stories
right,
that are untold that needs to be shared, and people need to hear it. The grieving, the loss of a loved one, those things matter to a lot of people. And so when people are going down and they hear this podcast and they turn it on, it can turn them. It can make them feel a certain type of way where they just like, man, the Uso speaking right to me. So proud of you, Us, man. Like, you should be proud of yourself, man. Like that's one of the things. And the biggest thing you mentioned was the why. Why'd you do
Yeah,
it? You got to know your purpose and everything, and your why really truly matter for you to get through boot camp and to receive that freaking
oh man,
Eagles. Like that
yeah.
is crazy, man. Like,
Yeah,
so
the ego globe and anchor, man. That everybody that earns that, man, I respect them because
respect him.
I
Yup.
know it ain't no handover. It's not
It's
like,
a
hey, you
brotherhood.
signed,
It's a
you
brotherhood that you're in.
yeah, it's just a different. We're breeded
Yep.
differently, man.
Yeah.
Honestly, like I can't even explain. And I actually went back and I told my recruiter at the USO. I told him, "Hey, why didn't you tell me boot camp was gonna be like that?" He said right off the bat, he's like, "I can't tell you everything, man." And I was
Yeah.
like,
Find it on your own.
"Dang." So
Nah,
that was yeah.
I
I'm
think
still
that was a
connected with
blessing
him.
too, right? That
Yeah,
was a blessing to have the Uso
yeah,
there and to support you and give you the information that you need, but
yeah.
also let you go through that journey. You know what I mean? Like you can't give everybody the information that they need, but you can give them bits and parts and have them decide and choose. Like I love that story. But let's talk about
Right? PD always thinks they're better than the sheriffs, and the sheriffs always thinks that they're better than PD. So I did PD all the way. In my younger days in the Police Explorer, and so honestly, that program changed me, man. It actually it saved me in a lot of situations where I got pulled over by a cop, and I would get pulled over by a cop, and then I would throw that at them. I'd be like, oh. I'm actually a police explorer. And they'll be like, oh, really? They'll be like, you know what? I'll be right back. Us.
right,
And then he gets on the phone and he's like, hey, what the heck do you think you're doing driving without a license, this and that? You know you can get your vehicle towed, your vehicle towed and this and that. You're only like 15, 16, and you're driving. And I'm over here driving my friend's car. We over there speeding and whatnot. Yeah.
right.
Go
When you
report
get
because
to the yep,
every Wednesday we would have a explorer meeting, and so I learned at a really young age of what accountability looked like, because I had to pay, they would, whatever it would be when I get there, they'd be like, oh, so you just want to drive around and without a license and get pulled over and drive
right.
crazy, huh? All right, bet. And they'll make
I
me
run
run
you, do
laps,
all, so yep,
man, push ups, sit
yep,
ups, everything. But to me, I thought that was great because then I didn't have to, because I didn't want to put that on my mom and put another bill.
yeah,
It's not on the juvenile, right?
right,
It's on the parent.
yeah,
And so I was glad that I had it that way because I wanted to pay for it myself. And so I think that was one of the benefits of being a police explorer. Like
right.
anytime I dealt with law enforcement, instead of just getting that cite, they just, make me pay on the quarter deck, which they just destroyed me. But as weird as that sounds, it kept me out of trouble. It taught me early that, every action has consequences,
That's
right?
what's
So,
yep,
but over time, it just became more of like accountability. So
right,
I learned that, and it just became purpose to me.
right.
And because I realized that I didn't want to get in trouble, and I wanted to serve people, and that's how I started my journey. And so when I got out, when I was getting closer to getting out of the military, I started putting in my applications everywhere. And
Wow,
yeah,
yep,
man, your biggest tool is your mouth,
right.
right? This is your biggest tool.
That
If you're able to talk to somebody and
right.
de-escalate any situation you come across, that's golden. You don't
Wow.
need that taser. You don't need your hands. You don't need anything.
Right.
It's just it. We call it verbal judo, and I'm pretty sure everybody else has probably heard of it. But
Right.
it's usually referred as verbal judo. And so
Right.
if your verbal judo is really good, you're gonna have a good time. And for
Yeah. You're
me, I
tough.
had a great time.
Right.
And so yeah, just
Charlie, that's
just
awesome, bro.
fine. I think yeah. I've actually built a lot of relationships, and St. George is a small city time,
That's
right?
true.
Day, and
Right.
if you're over here hiding behind your badge, demanding respect, they're gonna catch you slipping outside, and you ain't gonna have 15
That's
people to
true.
have your back, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you also
Dang,
got to
Charlie,
think
man,
about that as well. It's like,
I
dude,
mean,
you're gonna see them
that
again.
is golden information because there's going to be people that watch this podcast and they're just like, oh, what information can I know? I got to
Yeah.
prove like now I got to go to be a CEO in the jail. How can I maneuver my way out? You just mentioned it, your mouthpiece. I think
Yeah.
that's the other thing. How do you respect others? Because they see you outside, they're going to know
Oh,
who
they
you
for
Oh yeah,
sure.
they'll remember who you are, man. Like
Yeah, and so, working in the corrections, I did that for about a year, year and a half, and then I went on patrol. And sure enough, I couldn't tell you how many people I've seen that I've seen in the jail.
right,
And just recently, I ran into somebody that we busted. And yeah, right off the bat, if anybody calls me Yosua, I already know it's from the jail. So I already told my wife, what to do in those situations, like,
right, right,
get the kids and get out because you just never know, right? They don't know
right,
anything about me. But I mean, like I said, if you treat everybody with respect, you ain't got to worry about looking behind your
right,
back or something bad's going to happen because,
right.
you know, they're going to remember how you treated them in a vulnerable, situation or a hard
Situation,
time
yeah,
in their lives when they were locked up.
right.
And so I actually told the chefs, "Hey, man, we got to stop cooking some good food because people keep coming back. We're trying to keep people out, and they just keep coming back." And I'm just like,
They
"Dude, you."
love. But let's talk about your journey as a detective. Like, what is your position and what are you doing? Job description as a
Yeah.
detective.
So I did a year and a half in the jails, and then I did some patrol work. I
Right,
worked the streets. I did that for about 2.5 years, and it wasn't just until recently that I got promoted to a detective. So I'm part of the drug task force here in Washington County. So basically, we focus on disrupting obviously the the narcotics
narcotics
that are
that come
going
in.
on,
Yeah.
drug trafficking,
Wow.
taking down, as much sellers as we can
Right.
in drugs in a whole, right? So
Right.
that's basically what I do. I just take a whole bunch of drug cases and
Who
lock
is
these
it?
up.
Do as a detective, do you also like?
Yeah, so I mean, it all ties within the cases, right?
Right,
Because
right,
we're
right.
gonna see the case, and from the cases, we kind of just work from there,
From there, yeah.
gather information, and then we can see if we can help them, if they can help us. Our our help isn't free. Work out that way, so
Right, right, right,
and so
right.
I think the military kind of prepared her for
Whatever might
all that
happens,
time
yeah.
that I'm spent
Right,
away doing field ops and always gone for a week or two
right,
weeks or even 6 months. When I'm doing my work right now, no matter how long I'm out working, I'm coming home. So
yeah.
so when it came to law enforcement, she was excited because she knew this has always been my goal. I told her straight up, like since I was little, this is something I've always wanted
Right,
to do. And then on top of that, this is one of my promises that I told my mom during that 4 month period that I told her I'm still gonna become a cop. Like I'm gonna do it, and she just kind of cheered me on, like,
yeah.
"Oh, I know you're gonna do it. I know you're gonna do it." So
No, that's
it was
awesome.
just a no brainer, man. Like
Yeah.
I was gonna do it regardless, no matter what, even if I had to go to another state. It was just almost like a promise to my mom, but
Right,
to myself as well.
right,
And I'm so grateful for my wife. She was cool with it. And she, obviously we ended up having more and more kids. So it actually allows my wife to be home and be
right,
with the kids a full
right,
time, and I think that's one of the blessings is to have a mom there full time with the kids. And,
right.
there's a lot of times where she feels like she's not really doing anything. But man, being a stay home mom, dude, that's probably like one of the hardest jobs ever, man.
Oh, dude, I
Like,
don't think anybody knows that, man. Like,
oh, dude. And what's crazy is that, people look down on stay-home moms when they say, like, do you do anything for work? Oh, like,
uh,
that job is hard.
that job is
And then
hard, man.
on
Like
top
they,
of that, I feel like almost a jerk in a way because, like, I gave her four toddlers. Four toddlers, not only that, it's like all girls. So she's like constantly fighting herself in a
oh
way.
my gosh.
Yeah, she has mini me's of herself, and she has her own battles that she does at
Right.
home and stuck with them. I'm working with my
With the
family and my
kids.
kids, man, giving her a break for her sanity, So
Right.
it's just a nonstop thing,
Right. No, I
But
love
yeah,
that. I love that your wife is so super supportive of that,
yeah.
and then you mentioned you got four beautiful girls, man. We're gonna almost end it here, and I want to hit home with this one. And you lived a good life, and you strive to be the good father and the good husband you want. What do you want your kids to say about you?
Man, honestly, that I was there, that I love them. I honestly want my girls to say that my dad did not fold no matter what life threw at him.
Right.
He got back up. He fought for us. He built himself from nothing and with no handouts and just never quit. Growing up, watching them grow up, I just care that, they remember how I made them feel. I think that's the most important part,
Right.
and that I led by example and that I showed up. I think that's what I would want my girls to.
Yeah. For those that are going to view like some advice that you want to give to the young men and also the young women out there? Like any advice you want to give?
Yeah, man. If I could give any advice to any of the young men, I would just say get disciplined early, man. Stop chasing distractions and start building yourself mentally. But not only mentally, like physically, spiritually. Nobody's gonna come to save you. If you could take that advice, there is a saying, um, that some people learn. A smart man learns from his own mistakes, but a wise man he learns from he learns from other people's mistakes. And that's the biggest saying that I always like to live by, because if I can learn from somebody else, that would just save me so much time. And my other advice would probably be stop waiting, because the sooner you get disciplined, the sooner you become the man
Right.
your family needs. And I didn't grow up with a father. I grew up in a broken home. You know, I made plenty of mistakes in my life,
Right.
and I lost my mom at 21 years old, and all of that could have just taken me somewhere else,
Right.
but it didn't. It actually built me, and
Right.
because I made a decision that my story wasn't going to end where it started. And now I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a detective, and but more than anything, I'm a man I needed when I was younger. That's my advice out there.
Also, man, to be honest with you, man, like for me personally, and to hear your stories, I'm inspired by you, man. Like
Ah,
I
man.
appreciate the advice that you gave, gave the audience, and also to me about family, faith, and discipline. All those things tied in together, like and your story and your journey. Also, man, I appreciate the time that you gave me. I know
uh,
an hour and a half away from your family, man,
and
a long
it's been an
time, man.
honor,
But
man.
I want to say thank you. Appreciate the time that you given me, man, and to be on the podcast. And so once again, Roots in the City podcast, yours truly, Nofo Iosua. Appreciate the
Yeah,
love.
appreciate it.
Also.
Papa Tayo Love, also.